Hello, this is lesson 2, applying genetics problems. So number 1, the ABO blood group in human assorts independently from, I'm assuming this says Reese's Rh blood group trait and the MN blood group trait. So A, it says a child with blood types O, Rh negative, and M is born to a woman who has blood types O, Rh negative, and MN, and a man who has blood types A, Rh positive, and M. Determine a possible genotype for each parent and for the child. So for A, I wrote down each of the child, mother, and father, all of theirs right here. And then for the mother and the child, it was pretty similar, except when it gets to MN. That's where the father comes in. So down here I just did the test crosses for each of them, and I found that the father had to be AI, and the, yeah, that works. So B, it says, what proportion of children born to a man with genotype AB heterozygous are, I lost where I was. Oh, MN, and a woman who is AI heterozygous RNN will have blood types B, Rh negative, and MN. So for B, I just wrote down the men, woman, and child. And then I ran the test crosses and then found the proportions, and then just whatever the child had. Then I came over here, found the proportions for it, multiplied them together, and got my percentage. Same goes for C. And then D, I kind of had to squish it on this upper part right here. So it says a man with blood types B, Rh positive, and N says he could not be the father of a child with blood types O, Rh negative, and MN. The mother of the child has blood types A, Rh positive, and MN. Is the man correct? Explain. So I had kind of a little bit of trouble with this problem. I had to do a little bit of research into it. So again, with the other problems, I just wrote down all of the blood types for the man, woman, and child. And then I came over here and did test crosses. And I originally said that he is not correct, that the child is his, because the positives can make a negative for the Rh. Number 2, it says, in class we learned the comb shape in chickens to determine by the alleles of 2 independently assorted genes. And then it says a walnut comb is produced when both genes involved contain at least one dominant allele. A rose comb is produced when at least one R allele is present, while the second gene contains 2 recessive alleles. The pea comb is produced when the first gene contains 2 recessive alleles, while the second gene contains at least one P allele. If an individual is homozygous recessive for both genes, a single comb is produced. What are the genotypes of the parents that produce the following progeny phenotype ratios? So A, it asks for 1 walnut, 1 rose, 1 pea, and 1 single. So I basically took that big chunk paragraph and then I simplified it down to this so that I could just have this as reference. And then I just made, basically I took, it was down to like reasoning. So if I had 1 walnut, 1 rose, 1 pea, and 1 single, then I needed at least 1 big R, 1 small r, 1 big P, and 1 little p. And then I came up with this. Worked out pretty nicely. B was a little bit harder. It was 3 rows and 1 single. So again, just the same thing as I did with A. I had to try it multiple times and I came out with this one right here. That worked pretty well also. It's just 2 rows mixed together. Now coming over to C, it was 1 rose and 1 single, basically the same thing I did with the other problems, and it turned out to be I believe it's 1 rose and 1 single. Yes. So with D, same thing, is 3 walnut and 1 rose. This one was a little bit harder because I didn't find an answer, actually. I deemed it not possible. Number 3 was the horse question. So it says Palomino horses have a golden yellow coat, chestnuts horses have a brown coat, and Cremello horses have a coat that is almost white. A series of crosses between the 3 different types of horses produce the following offspring. And then it gives all of the offspring. A says explain the inheritance of these coat color phenotypes in horses. A, I didn't really get. I just kind of guessed on what to say, and I said Palomino must be a heterozygous, as it is able to have all 3 colors. Chestnut must be either homozygous dominant or recessive, and then Cremello must be either homozygous dominant or recessive. For B, it says indicate possible genotypes for Palomino, chestnut, and Cremello horses. Basically, I put this in words down into here in genotypes. For number 4, it says to fill in the blanks. For A, I got glycosyl transferase and galactose. B is overdominance. C is incomplete penetrance. D is epistasis. E is phenylketonuria. I don't know. PKU. That works. And then E is maternal inheritance. G and H were phenotype ratio questions. G says the question concerns the shell, or this question concerns the shell coiling trait in the water snail. Recall that that D is the dextral allele, the dominant, and D is the sinistral allele, recessive. Suppose you have a large group of female snails where 30% of the homozygous dominant genotype, 30% are the heterozygous, and 40% are the homozygous recessive. The population of snails is allowed to randomly mate with male water snails. 50% of the male water snails are heterozygous, while 50% of the males are homozygous recessive. What are the phenotypic ratios of the progeny snails? In the notes, it said that the snails follow the maternal inheritance, meaning whatever the mother has, then the offspring will also have. So basically, these 2 are the dominant, and this is the recessive. And it would be 2/3 dextral and 1/3 sinistral. Same for H. It asks for the 4 o'clock plant. The 4 o'clock plant also follows kind of the same thing as the snails, where 40% of the offspring will be green, since 40% of the female plants were green, and then 60% are white, since 60% of the female plants are white. Number 5 was the same as the rabbit question. It says, in guinea pigs, coat color is influenced by 1 gene with 4 different alleles: black, sepia, cream, and white. These alleles show complete dominance in order: black, sepia, cream, and white. Determine the genotypes and phenotypes of the parents that produce the following offspring in a cross. So I just wrote down all of them in order. So black trumps sepia, sepia trumps cream, cream trumps white. Then for A, it says 50% black and 50% sepia offspring. So I wrote down all of the possibilities that black could be and all of the possibilities that sepia could be, and then ran test crosses to find that the parents were black and sepia. For B, it was 75% sepia and 25% cream offspring. Again, I just wrote down the possibilities of what each of them could be, ran a test cross, and found that the parents could be sepia and sepia. C is 50% black, 25% sepia, and 25% white offspring. Again, ran all the possibilities of which one they could be, ran the test cross, and found that the parents are black and sepia. D is 75% black and 25% white offspring. Again, I ran the possibilities. I did the test cross and found that the parents are black and black.